Carl Gustav Jung, the great psychologist of the 20th century, who explored the mysterious depths of the human mind, always emphasized that what is rejected in the unconscious becomes destiny. Jung believed that if we do not bring those shadows into the light of consciousness, they will continue to influence our lives in an invisible yet powerful way. They infiltrate every relationship, every choice, even the smallest thoughts that we can hardly control. The behaviors we choose to tolerate, whether consciously or unconsciously, do not merely exist on the surface, but penetrate deep into the subconscious, becoming a part of who we are. Jung warned that tolerance of toxic things is not a sign of kindness, but a surrender of control over one's life. If we do not make these harmful behaviors clear and conscious, they will repeat, imprisoning us in an endless loop of suffering. So, what are the behaviors that Carl Jung believed we should not accept in our lives? How can we recognize and eliminate them to protect our souls from the erosion of unworthy things? Because when you tolerate what is unworthy, you are losing a part of yourself. Let us explore the 10 unacceptable behaviors that Jung warned about to awaken awareness and reclaim control over your life. Number 1. Emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation is a subtle form of control where the perpetrator attempts to influence another person's thoughts, emotions, and actions by making them feel guilty, ashamed, or inadequate. This is not just a typical toxic behavior, but a denial of individual autonomy, eroding confidence, and suffocating one's inner voice. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Emotional manipulation is one of those shadows hidden deep in the unconscious, and if not recognized and confronted, it becomes a repetitive trap, pulling you into a spiral of pain and loss. One of the typical manifestations of emotional manipulation is when someone makes you feel guilty for setting boundaries for yourself. They make you believe that protecting your own interests is selfish, that it shows a lack of concern for their feelings. For example, when you refuse an unreasonable request or want to spend time for yourself, the manipulator immediately reacts with statements like, "How can you be so selfish? You never think about my feelings." Or, "Can't you see that I need you? You only think about yourself." These words not only strike at your sense of guilt, but also make you question the legitimacy of your personal needs. Over time, this doubt erodes your self-worth, weakens your will, and creates emotional dependency on the manipulator. Carl Jung observed that when we allow others to manipulate our emotions, subconsciously, we are surrendering control over our inner world. He wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." Being manipulated drags us away from ourselves, shifting our focus to others' approval instead of listening to our inner voice. This leads to emotional dependency, making us feel the constant need to please others for validation, while ignoring our own needs and values. To escape the cycle of emotional manipulation, the first step is awareness. You need to recognize when your emotions are being controlled, when someone's words are making you feel guilty without justification. Remember, your personal needs are legitimate, and setting boundaries is not selfish. It is a necessary act to maintain inner integrity. Carl Jung once affirmed, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Escaping emotional manipulation is a journey back to your true self, restoring your confidence and reconnecting with your most authentic being. When you stop tolerating emotional manipulation, you are laying the foundation for a freer and more fulfilling life. No longer trapped in the cycle of guilt and shame, you will recognize your true value and walk confidently on the path of personal freedom. Because only when you liberate yourself from that invisible control can you truly take charge of your life? Just as Carl Jung always encouraged, wake up, confront the darkness, and find your inner light. Number 2. Gaslighting, emotional reality distortion. Escaping emotional manipulation is the first step to protecting your inner values and regaining mental autonomy. But if emotional manipulation is a veil that conceals the truth, then gaslighting, emotional reality distortion, is the distortion of that truth, making you not only doubt your own decisions, but also question your perception of reality. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But to do that, first, you need to distinguish between what is real and what is fabricated by manipulators." Gaslighting is a sophisticated form of psychological manipulation where the perpetrator continuously denies emotions, distorts the truth, and makes the victim begin to doubt their own perceptions. They do this through statements like, "You're too sensitive, things aren't that bad," or "You're just imagining things, that never happened." These words not only create confusion, but also push you into a state of self-doubt and uncertainty about reality. Over time, you start to believe that perhaps your feelings are wrong, that everything is just a result of being overly sensitive or having an overactive imagination. Carl Jung explained that when people deny their own reality, they unconsciously push that awareness into the shadow. He wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Gaslighting is precisely the process of pushing the truth into the darkness, where the victim loses connection with their own intuition and feelings. You are stripped of the confidence to trust your own perceptions, relying instead on the manipulator's perspective to seek the truth. This is a form of spiritual enslavement, which many do not realize they are trapped in. Jung believed that this denial of emotions and distortion of reality is an extremely toxic behavior because it not only deprives you of the truth, but also weakens your ability to self-reflect. One of the fundamental elements of achieving individuation. He wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But how can you become yourself if you no longer believe in what you feel? How can you achieve spiritual freedom when every perspective and every emotion of yours is distorted and denied?" Recognizing gaslighting is the first step to regaining inner control. Pay attention to the smallest signs, the feeling of confusion after every argument, the doubt about what you have seen or felt, and especially the loss of confidence in your ability to judge for yourself. If you often have to ask yourself, "Am I exaggerating?" or "Am I being too sensitive?" after every conversation, that is a sign of gaslighting. Gaslighting is not just manipulation. It is the theft of your sense of security and your trust in yourself. When you begin to doubt your own feelings, you are handing over control of your reality to someone else, and that is the beginning of internal loss. So, have you ever asked yourself, is there someone in your life making you doubt yourself, making you feel uncertain about what you perceive? If so, is it time to look inward and awaken? Share your story. Because sometimes the truth begins when we dare to call it by its name. Number 3. Disregard for boundaries. When you begin to awaken from emotional manipulation and reality distortion, you gradually realize one clear truth. Personal boundaries are not just invisible lines, but fortresses that protect your inner integrity. However, there is one toxic behavior that Carl Jung particularly warned about: disregard for boundaries. If gaslighting is the distortion of perception, then disrespect for boundaries is the way others invade your personal space, bend your will, and intrude on your safe zones, turning you into the version they want instead of your true self. Carl Jung once said, The healthy man does not torture others. Generally, it is the tortured who turn into torturers. Indeed, those who do not know or refuse to respect others' boundaries are often the ones who have never learned to protect their own. They view such intrusions as natural, as a way to assert power and control over others. You can clearly sense this behavior through signs like someone constantly interfering with your personal decisions, passing judgment on your life choices, or even demanding that you share every thought and feeling, leaving no space for privacy. Jung emphasized that if we do not set clear boundaries, we unconsciously invite others' shadows to invade our souls. Whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event. If you refuse to protect your inner space, others will naturally step in and reshape it according to their will. Allowing others to cross your boundaries is not just a temporary compromise, it is a way of surrendering control over your life to someone else. This disregard for boundaries is not limited to romantic relationships. It often appears within families. A mother may walk into her child's room without knocking, read their personal diary, or control their relationships under the pretense of, "I just want what's best for you." Or a father may continuously pressure his child to follow a career path he chose, regardless of the child's true aspirations. These behaviors, even when disguised as love or care, are serious invasions of personal boundaries. Jung once affirmed, "Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment, and especially on their children, than the unlived life of the parent." Unfulfilled expectations of parents often manifest as control, bending the natural boundaries of their children, leading to long-lasting emotional scars. Recognizing the disregard for personal boundaries is not just an act of awakening, but a way to protect your essence from unconscious intrusion by others. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is a declaration of control over your own life. Just as Jung once said, "To be normal is the ideal aim of the unsuccessful." You do not need to be normal by someone else's definition. You need to be authentic to yourself, protecting your own mental landscape in order to grow. Number 4, chronic criticism and judgment. When you begin to establish strong personal boundaries, you will quickly notice resistance from those who once considered overstepping your limits as something natural. Discontent, criticism, and judgment will start to surface as a way to control and diminish your value. This is when you must face another toxic behavior that Carl Jung warned about: chronic criticism and judgment. If disregarding personal boundaries is an invisible invasion, then constant criticism is a direct method to destroy your self-worth and self-esteem. Continuous criticism is actually a reflection of unresolved frustrations and shadows within the critic themselves. When someone repeatedly criticizes you, it is not solely because of your mistakes or shortcomings, but because they are projecting their insecurities and inner darkness onto you. Instead of facing their inner shadows, they choose to unload them onto others as a way to soothe the lingering pain inside. You can easily recognize this behavior by how they always find even the smallest flaws to criticize. A typical example is in the workplace, where a boss or colleague constantly criticizes you without any acknowledgement of your efforts. You strive to complete the project on time, but instead of receiving recognition, they focus on minor details like, "This report should have been more polished," or "Why did you choose this method? It's not the best way." These constant, non-constructive criticisms gradually erode your confidence, making you feel inadequate and undeserving of recognition. Jung called this action projecting the shadow, projecting one's own insecurities and flaws onto someone else. Those who criticize you are, in fact, avoiding their own fears and shortcomings by concentrating on your mistakes. The impact of chronic criticism on one's psyche is not just temporary hurt, it also leads to a disconnection from self-worth. You start to question, am I really as useless as they say? Or maybe I'm not good enough to do this. These seeds of doubt grow over time, dimming your confidence, pushing you into a spiral of self-doubt and dependence on others' approval. Carl Jung once asserted, "The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents. They criticize because they cannot accept the reality that they have missed out on their own dreams, and as a result, they seek to control and impose their unfulfilled desires onto their children to fill that void." Recognizing chronic criticism is an important step in protecting your essence. Ask yourself, are these criticisms truly constructive? Or are they just the mindless venting of personal frustrations from someone else? Do you feel small and unworthy when you are around that person? If the answer is yes, it is time to set boundaries to protect yourself. Jung once wrote, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." Choose to become the best version of yourself. Do not allow unworthy judgments to diminish your inner value. Number 5. Emotional indifference. There is a silent pain, a quiet yet deeply ingrained wound in the soul that is emotional indifference. Unlike harsh criticism or subtle manipulation, emotional indifference exists in silence, but it is ruthless. It is when you open your heart to share your sorrows, your joys, your deepest desires, only to be met with empty eyes, prolonged silence, or worse, a cold change of topic. Carl Jung once affirmed, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." Emotional indifference is a form of invisible emotional violence, because it does not leave scars on the body, but it etches deeply into the mind. When others choose to ignore or show no interest in your genuine feelings, they are effectively denying your spiritual existence. This indifference is also evident in families, where children grow up feeling unimportant. A child comes home after a long day, excited to talk about a good test result or a beautiful memory from school, but the parents respond with silence or a dismissive nod. Carl Jung once said, "Children are educated by what the grown-up is, and not by his talk." When indifference repeats itself, the child begins to believe that their feelings do not matter, that their voice is not worth listening to. This belief embeds itself in the subconscious, creating psychological scars that sometimes take a lifetime to heal. The danger of emotional indifference lies in its gradual erosion of self-worth. You start to wonder if you are too sensitive, if your feelings are too insignificant to be heard. Over time, you choose silence. You choose to withdraw, because the fear of being ignored grows larger than the pain of not being understood. Jung described this process as a retreat into darkness, where emotions are buried, left unexpressed, unacknowledged, and eventually fade away into the unconscious. But Carl Jung also offered a light of awakening. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This means that you need to affirm the value of your own emotions, not let others' indifference define your inner worth. Instead of continuing to wait for understanding from those who refuse to listen, learn to listen to yourself. Do not let indifference silence the voice of your heart. And have you ever felt empty even when someone was right beside you? Have you ever chosen silence just because you were afraid your words would be ignored? If so, share your story, because sometimes the first understanding begins with you. Number 6. Narcissistic control. Have you ever felt like a puppet in someone else's hands, where every decision you make must go through someone's approval? Do you find yourself constantly asking for permission, reporting, or seeking opinions on things you should have complete freedom to choose. If you nodded, you might have experienced or are currently trapped in the invisible loop called narcissistic control. This is a toxic behavior that Carl Jung warned about because it penetrates deep into the mind and takes away your freedom in a subtle yet violent manner. Carl Jung once said, "Where wisdom reigns, there is no conflict between thinking and feeling." But for those with narcissistic tendencies, that wisdom is replaced by a desire to control everything around them. They want to have authority over every decision you make, from the smallest details like how you dress or walk, to bigger choices like your career, your friends, or even your future. The frightening thing is that they do not express this control overtly, but disguise it under the masks of care, concern, or love. They might say things like, "I just want what's best for you," or "You should do it this way. I think it's the best choice for you." In reality, this is a way to manipulate your decisions, turning you into an extension of their narcissistic will. Another clear example can be seen within families, where parents with overwhelming expectations for their children unintentionally control every step they take. They decide what you should study, what job you should do, who you should be friends with, without ever asking if that is truly what you want. Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment, and especially on their children, than the unlived life of the parent. Jung once affirmed, "Parents control their children because they fear their children might repeat the mistakes they made, or worse, because they want their children to live out the unfulfilled dreams of their own lives." The danger of narcissistic control is that it erodes your confidence, gradually strips away your autonomy, and leaves you living as a faint shadow of yourself. You begin to accept giving up your personal desires, no longer resisting unreasonable demands for fear of displeasing the other person. And that is when you lose connection with yourself, living like a puppet under invisible control. Choose to become the strongest and most independent version of yourself, because no one has the right to control your life except you. Are you caught in the spiral of narcissistic control? Do you notice your freedom slowly eroding under the guise of love or concern? If so, it is time for you to awaken and reclaim control over your own life. Number 7. Passive aggression. Have you ever felt the atmosphere around you become so heavy and suffocating, even though there were no loud arguments? That's when words turn into hidden weapons, silence becomes punishment, and seemingly harmless sarcasm leaves lasting emotional scars. This is passive aggression, one of the most subtle forms of psychological attack that Carl Jung warned about. If narcissistic control is a visible form of constraint, passive aggression is the invisible way that locks you into self-doubt and internal conflict. Passive aggression often creates an invisible sense of shame in its victims, leaving them unsure of what they've done wrong, only feeling an intangible weight pressing down on them. Those who employ this tactic do not directly express their discomfort. Instead, they choose to be sarcastic, make indirect remarks, or maintain absolute silence to inflict harm. Every offhand comment, every fleeting glance, is like a hidden arrow aimed straight at your self-esteem. You can easily recognize this behavior in everyday situations. For example, when you share a small success, instead of congratulating you, they respond with a light but sarcastic remark. "Well, that's not bad, but if it were me, I probably would have done it better." Or when you make a mistake, instead of offering sincere advice, they just shake their head, sigh, and say, "It's fine, I didn't expect much anyway." The words are not direct criticisms, but each one is etched deeply into your mind, feeding feelings of inadequacy and unworthiness. In the workplace, passive aggression is also a common occurrence. Imagine you propose a new idea in a meeting. Instead of receiving constructive feedback, you are met with fleeting glances, a few sighs, or comments like, "Sounds interesting, but it's probably too ambitious to work." It's not an outright rejection, but it's enough to make you feel unacknowledged and disrespected. Over time, this gradually erodes your confidence, making you hesitant to speak up or share your ideas for fear of hidden judgment. So, how do you escape this toxic cycle? First, you need to clearly recognize the signs of passive aggression. It is when you constantly feel tense, vaguely defensive, without knowing exactly why. It is when you begin to doubt yourself, questioning whether you are truly wrong or if your feelings are even worth being heard. The next step is to confront it directly. Instead of enduring in silence, learn to ask direct questions. Demand clarity. Are you feeling upset about something? Tell me. I want to understand. This confrontation breaks through the passive shell, forcing the other person to express their true feelings, or at least making it impossible for them to continue hiding. Number 8. Disrespecting your inner world. Have you ever felt that your inner world is like a secret garden where your dreams, hopes, and truest emotions are nurtured? Yet, not everyone who steps into that garden does so with respect and understanding. Some, with words either careless or deliberate, not only dismiss, but also trample upon the flowers of hope, crushing the seeds of passion you have carefully planted. This is the manifestation of disrespecting your inner world, one of the toxic behaviors Carl Jung warned about. If passive aggression is silent destruction, then disregarding your inner world is the direct attack on what is most beautiful and authentic within you. Imagine you are eagerly sharing about a creative project you've been nurturing for a long time, but instead of receiving support and encouragement, the other person simply gives you a dismissive smile and responds, "Stop dreaming. That's not realistic." Or when you express your desire to pursue your passion in the arts, they scoff and say, "What good is art? Why not find a stable job instead?" Those words are like invisible blades, not only cutting away your belief in yourself, but also dimming the light of the dreams you once cherished. The signs of this behavior are not only in words, but also in actions. When you want to spend time writing, learning, or creating, they ignore or constantly interrupt you. When you try to share your feelings, they change the subject or show annoyance. They view what you hold dear as trivial, unworthy of attention, causing you to gradually withdraw, hiding what you love and desire. You begin to fear judgment, fear ridicule, and so you bury your dreams deep into the darkness of the unconscious. Carl Jung called this spiritual murder, because when the inner world is denied, we lose connection with our truest selves. Whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event. When you abandon your dreams just because of someone else's judgment, you are creating a spiritual void that will later be filled with regret and loss. How do you protect your inner world? First, you must recognize when others are disrespecting or invading it. Do not let mindless ridicule extinguish the flame of passion inside you. Learn to protect your dreams as if they are precious treasures. Because, as Jung said, the shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. Your dreams are unique. They are special. Do not let anyone steal them from your hands. Are you hiding your dreams and desires simply because you fear judgment from others? Are you withdrawing because someone once told you that what you want is unrealistic? If the answer is yes, perhaps it is time for you to protect your inner garden, because that is where all the magic of life begins. Number 9. repeated betrayal. There are wounds that do not leave scars on the skin, but they are etched deeply into the heart and mind, not because they are immediately painful, but because of their repetition to the point of numbness. Have you ever felt that the hurt you endure does not stem from a single incident, but from the repeated breaking of promises that are never kept, the constant betrayal of commitments over and over again? This is repeated betrayal, one of the most insidious forms of trust destruction that Carl Jung warned about. If betrayal happens only once, the heart may learn to forgive. But when it repeats, trust does not merely shatter. It becomes an open wound that never heals. People who betray repeatedly do not do so because they cannot change, but because they refuse to face the dark shadows within themselves, where dishonesty, selfishness, and the fear of accountability still reign. They make promises to reassure you, to soften your heart and win your forgiveness, but those promises then turn into weapons that cut even deeper. Every time trust is broken, a part of you shatters with it. A clear example is in toxic relationships, where the other person continually makes promises to change. They might promise to stop the hurtful behaviors, to treat you better, to become the person you need. But over time, those promises turn out to be mere covers for repeated deception. When caught, they apologize, beg for a second chance, then a third, and even a 10th. Jung called this a compulsion to repeat, where old wounds continue to resurface in different forms because no one truly faces and heals them. Identifying repeated betrayal is not difficult. It is when you notice that promises are made easily, but actions never align with those words. They say they love you, but continue to hurt you. They apologize, but never change. They commit, but break those commitments over and over again. Carl Jung once affirmed, "We cannot change anything until we accept it." Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. This applies to both the one who betrays and the one who accepts it. If you do not recognize that toxic repetition, you will continue to be trapped in an endless cycle of hope and hurt. The cruelest thing that repeated betrayal brings is the erosion of your belief in your own worth. You begin to question whether you are good enough, whether you are worthy of being valued. Every time you forgive, you give up a piece of your self-respect, hoping that this forgiveness will make them realize your value. But the truth is, when someone is willing to betray you over and over again, it is not because you are not good enough. It is because they are not brave enough to face the darkness within themselves. So how do you escape this painful cycle? First, you need to realize that a promise without change is merely a delay of further hurt. You need to be strong enough to set boundaries, to protect your own value. The choice is yours. Either continue in the cycle of pain or awaken and step out of it to rediscover your true worth. Number 10. Emotional abandonment. Have you ever experienced that suffocating emptiness when sadness overwhelms you, but no one is patient enough to listen? There are moments when all you need is an embrace, a sincere word of comfort. But instead, you are met with silence or indifferent remarks like, "It'll pass," or "Don't overthink it." This is the manifestation of emotional abandonment, an invisible yet haunting form of emotional trauma. If repeated betrayal erodes trust, emotional abandonment is how others gradually drain your spiritual energy, leaving you drowning in loneliness and insecurity. Carl Jung once affirmed, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." Indeed, emotional abandonment is not a physical departure, but a spiritual absence. They can sit right next to you, live under the same roof. But when you need to share, when you need someone to listen, when you need emotional comfort, they disappear. Not through action, but through indifference and silence. The signs of emotional abandonment are most evident in moments of vulnerability. When you go through a bad day, lose a big opportunity, or are betrayed by someone you trust, you expect the person you love to be by your side, to listen and empathize. But instead, you are met with indifferent responses like, "Don't think too much, it's not a big deal." Or worse, complete disregard. You begin to feel like your emotions do not matter, that your sadness is not significant enough for anyone to care. Jung explained that emotional abandonment is essentially the deprivation of spiritual energy. When emotions are abandoned, the soul becomes dry, hollow, and disconnected from joy or hope. When the person in front of you refuses to respond to your emotions, all connection is broken. You drown in your pain alone, with no one to walk alongside you to transform that pain into empathy and healing. Like other forms of emotional harm, emotional abandonment is not accidental. It is a projection of unresolved fears. Those who refuse to connect with others' emotions are often the ones who cannot face their own. They fear vulnerability, they fear spiritual connections, and they choose to walk away rather than confront it. To escape this pain, you need to learn to protect your emotions. Do not wait for empathy from those who are not brave enough to open their hearts. Seek out those who truly listen, who are sensitive enough to understand that presence and understanding matter more than hollow words. Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be understood. And above all, you deserve to have your emotions respected. Carl Jung, with his profound understanding of psychology and human nature, pointed out that there are behaviors that should never be tolerated, for they not only cause harm, but also erode the intrinsic value within each person. Tolerating the unacceptable is not a sign of kindness. It is a form of self-abandonment. Every time you accept manipulation, disrespect, or hollow promises that are never fulfilled, you are willingly stepping away from your deepest self, giving up your right to be loved and respected in a true sense. Awaken. Listen to your inner voice. Jung believed that only when we bring the unconscious into the light of consciousness can we truly free ourselves from the cycle of repeated pain. Do not let the unconscious dictate your life with endless loops of suffering. Protect your soul from unnecessary harm. By identifying toxic behaviors, you are laying the foundation for spiritual freedom and the right to be genuinely loved. Because awakening is not just an action, it is also an affirmation that I deserve peace, I deserve respect, and I deserve genuine love. If you feel that this article has helped you awaken and recognize the toxic behaviors in your life, please leave a comment to share your story. And don't forget to click subscribe to join us on the journey of inner exploration, protecting your values, and finding true peace. Each week, we will bring you deep lessons based on the philosophy of Carl Jung, helping you awaken, grow stronger, and live more fully. Let's grow together and protect your soul from unnecessary pain. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I keep staying in a place that deep down I know I need to leave? A relationship that keeps hurting you, a job that's draining you, an environment where you slowly lose yourself. You know it's no longer meant for you, so why haven't you walked away? You're not staying out of love. You're staying because something invisible, but incredibly powerful within you refuses to let go. And you don't know what that is. You think you're making a choice, but in truth, you're living out an old script your unconscious wrote a long time ago. Leaving, then, is not just a physical act. It's an inner rite of passage, a turning point in the process of individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are, no longer controlled by old wounds. You don't need more reasons to leave. You need to understand what's binding you. And once you truly see it in the light of awareness, there will be no going back. In today's video, I will explain the inner bindings holding you back and guide you to the door of deep psychological freedom. Stay until the end, because I'll reveal powerful ways to walk away, without resentment, without guilt. Number 1. Why can't we leave? The human mind has a dangerous instinct. It would rather cling to familiar pain than step into the unknown. That's not weakness, it's biology. Your brain is wired to keep you in the safety zone, even when that zone is slowly killing you. Carl Jung saw this with remarkable clarity. He didn't believe humans were rational beings. He understood us as creatures ruled by layers of unconscious material we've never seen. That's why, when you stand at the edge of walking away from a relationship, a situation, or a way of life, your entire nervous system reacts as if your life is in danger. When in reality, the only thing you're doing is trying to save yourself. You feel fear. You feel uncertainty. You tell yourself, now's not the right time, or maybe they'll change, or I'm not ready yet. But none of those are real. They're the mind's survival instinct speaking, keeping you tethered to the known, because to the brain, what's known is safe, and what's unknown is threatening, even if it holds a better future. Jung said it plainly. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their soul. You'll endure, explain, justify, sacrifice anything to avoid staring into the void inside you that you think will consume you if you let go. But it is a delusion, because the truth is, you're not afraid of losing someone else. You're afraid of losing the identity you built around them. And when you feel that, when you touch the fear that if you let go, you won't know who you are anymore, that's not a reason to stay. That's the unconscious calling you to finally leave. If you don't understand this, you'll believe you're weak. But you're not. You're being manipulated by an ancient instinct designed to protect you. But in this modern world, it can end up destroying you. Jung called it the collective unconscious, the inherited psychological field of humanity, where the fear of loss outweighs the longing for freedom. And the truth gets even deeper. You're not just afraid of the unknown, you're held hostage by old beliefs programmed into you since childhood, beliefs you never questioned. You learned about love through watching pain. You were taught that love is endurance, sacrifice, and suffering. You saw your parents stay even when it hurt. You saw adults tolerate instead of walking away. You heard things like, family is forever, and everyone has flaws, you just have to accept them. These weren't just words, they were unconscious codes embedded in your mind, shaping every decision to stay or to leave for the rest of your life. Jung called this the inheritance of the soul, archetypes and psychological scripts passed down without our awareness. If you grew up in a world where love always came with pain, then you bonded with suffering, as if it were part of love. You didn't see anything wrong with it, because to you it felt normal. So when a relationship hurts, you don't leave. You stay because your mind whispers, This is what love looks like. And it gets worse. You might feel guilty for even wanting to walk away, because you were told that good people stay, strong people forgive, that real love means never giving up. And you believed it, so much that you ended up hurting yourself just to prove your love was real. Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. The hardest part isn't leaving someone else. It's admitting that you stayed too long because of beliefs that were never yours to begin with. Beliefs inherited from your parents, your society, the child in you who just wanted to be loved. And until you realize that your life isn't being lived from free will, but from an unconscious script, you won't be able to leave. Even when you start unlearning those inherited ideas, there's still one more powerful force that keeps you stuck: the illusion of potential. You're not in love with reality. You're in love with what could have been. Maybe you're trapped in a future that never existed, a better version of that person, a kinder relationship, a more perfect love, if only things changed a little. But as Jung warned, everyone is in love with his ideas. You're not seeing the person as they are. You're seeing them through the lens of your unmet desires. This is how the mind resists truth. It doesn't let go, it reshapes reality. You remember the good times. You dismiss the dozens of wounds. You tell yourself and others a softened story, a polished narrative that shields you from the most painful truth. This was a dream that didn't come true, not because you didn't try, but because it was never meant for you. The illusion of potential is the most dangerous trap. It keeps you hanging on, not because you don't understand the past, but because you still believe the future might finally happen. You don't want to lose what could be, even when what is has already broken you. And as Jung said, the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents. Sometimes you're not just trapped in your illusion, you're trying to fulfill an old dream. One inherited from your parents, from society, from someone who once taught you that love means fixing people, completing stories, and making everything perfect. But you cannot love a soul that only exists as a half-finished sketch in your head. Potential is not reality. No one deserves to live their life in endless sacrifice just to prove something that was never real. Jung called this projection, the act of casting onto others the parts of your soul you've never fully lived, then demanding they bring them to life. You don't love them. You love a version that never existed, and the more you cling to that version, the more you disconnect from reality, the more you avoid the truth. This has no future, only a past, endlessly replayed in the costume of hope. Understanding all this is the first step toward cutting the invisible psychological cords that bind you. Not with bitterness, but with sharp awareness. You don't have to sacrifice your present for something that was never real. Number 2, the resistance of the mind. You might think that once you've seen the truth, liberation will follow, that you'll walk away without regret. But it's never that clean. There's always something inside you that won't let you leave so decisively. It's no longer an illusion. It's resistance, the resistance of your psyche, a subtle, powerful mechanism of self-sabotage. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." No one becomes awakened without confronting their internal resistance. Because the moment you begin to let go, your subconscious hits the alarm. It pulls you back into the past, It floods you with good memories. It stirs your fear of being alone. It makes you question your decision. And most of all, it whispers that you might be making a mistake. Take a simple, real example. Someone finally gathers the courage to end a relationship after months of pain. They delete the number, walk away, and try to move on. But then comes a single message. "Are you okay?" And everything crumbles. The mind instantly recalls all the beautiful moments. And they go back, even though deep down, they know exactly what's waiting. Have you ever been in that moment too? One message, one memory, one flicker of hope, and all your effort to let go dissolves. If you've ever been there, share your story or emotion in the comments, not just to vent, but to remind others they're not alone in this battle with themselves. Jung described this as the conflict between the ego, the conscious self, and the shadow, the repressed unconscious. The ego wants to walk away, but the shadow refuses. It carries fear of abandonment, feelings of unworthiness, unhealed wounds, and the guilt of putting yourself first. And you don't realize that these emotions are steering your life while you believe you're making conscious decisions. The painful truth is this: your mind will do everything it can to make you doubt yourself. It'll tell you you're overreacting, that you didn't try hard enough, that maybe forgiveness is the answer. And the more these thoughts repeat, the more you carve a psychological rut where leaving becomes unnatural and staying becomes the default. This self-sabotage mechanism isn't limited to love. It shows up everywhere. In work, for example. You may know full well your job is draining your soul, yet when a new opportunity arises, your mind starts whispering, "What if that's not better? At least this place is stable. Change scares me." So you stay, not because the job deserves you, but because you're listening to fear dressed up as logic. Jung warned that the psyche always seeks to return to its familiar state of balance, even if that balance is harmful. So when you return to an old partner, accept an old job, or keep a toxic habit, it's not because you don't know better. It's because your mind fears short-term chaos more than it desires long-term freedom. Jung called this the compulsion to repeat, the unconscious drive to recreate old wounds to feel in control of them. That's why you find yourself in familiar patterns, loving the same kind of wrong person, making the same mistakes, ending up in the same story with a new name. It's not bad luck. It's your unawakened psyche pulling you back into the same pit. You need to understand one thing clearly. The mind will always try to pull you back unless you shut the door completely. If you leave it cracked, one phone call, one saved photo, one post you still check, your unconscious will use it as permission to return. And next time, it'll be harder to walk away, because every time you go back, you teach yourself that leaving is dangerous and returning is safe. Carl Jung said, "What you resist persists. What you don't face will keep controlling you." If you don't understand why the pain keeps repeating, you'll keep calling it fate, destiny, when it's only an outdated mental program running on autopilot. And among all the tactics your mind uses to keep you stuck, guilt is the most powerful trap of all. It's not loud like fear, not sharp like longing, but it's strong enough to lock you inside your psychological prison, where you hold the key and still beg someone else to set you free. You feel like a bad person for walking away. You think you're heartless for letting go, for leaving someone behind. You tell yourself, There's still so much I haven't explained. What if they don't recover? Did I try hard enough? So you delay, not because the decision is wrong, but because you're afraid of being the one at fault. Jung once said that guilt, in its essence, is a moral compass. But when taken over by the unconscious, it becomes a chain. It makes you feel responsible to stay, to heal, to carry it all, even when it's costing you. And the truth is, what you think is selfish toward others is the deepest form of selfishness toward yourself. You stay in a place where you no longer belong just to avoid judgment. In doing so, you betray your truth, and you prolong someone else's illusion. Walking away when you know it's time isn't abandonment. It's integrity with your inner truth. Guilt and resistance, one ties you to the past, the other tempts you with the future. But both are tactics of the mind to keep you from facing what's most painful, the present. If you truly want freedom, you must name them for what they are. Guilt is not morality. Hope is not love. They're just veils the mind uses to pull you away from what's real. And it's time to tear down that veil, to see clearly that staying is not strength. It's the hesitation of a mind terrified of emptiness. Number 3, the danger of going without letting go. By now, you might be wondering why, even after your psychological defenses have come down, your mind still can't let go. You need to understand this. Emotions are not something reason can simply switch off. Emotions are the primal language of the soul, alive, stubborn, and often indifferent to logic. When we love, attach to, or trust someone, we don't just share time. We give away a piece of our being. Physical separation is never enough because emotions are woven into memory. We don't just walk away from a person. We must also release the moments when we were seen, soothed, and allowed to be our full selves without pretense. Every embrace, every glance, every word that made the heart stir, all of it becomes a tapestry of memory that, if unraveled, feels like pulling apart our very identity. The struggle lies like emotion itself. It doesn't operate in linear time. It doesn't follow a clear beginning and end like a scheduled event. It is born through repetition, connection, and accumulated experience. And the more something repeats, the deeper it's etched into the nervous system and the harder it is to erase. A relationship can end in a single day, but the emotional aftershock can last for years. The heart doesn't shut down just because reason says it should. It keeps nurturing hope, then denying reality, then longing all over again. Leaving, therefore, isn't a one-time action. It's a drawn-out tug-of-war between past and present, between what must be forgotten and what hasn't yet been released. It stirs old wounds that haven't healed, rejection, loneliness, and the feeling of not being enough. Letting go of someone unintentionally becomes a confrontation with the darkness within ourselves, something few are willing to face. Do you think of them at night, or secretly check their social media? Maybe you tell others you've moved on, but deep down, you know, you haven't truly left. Carl Jung called this the psychological shadow, the unprocessed parts of the unconscious that continue to haunt and control you, long after you believe it's over. Picture someone just out of a painful relationship. They move house, change their number, and cut contact. Yet every time they pass that familiar cafe, they glance around, searching for a familiar silhouette. Every time it rains, they remember someone once held the umbrella. Each night they wonder, if they called now, Would I answer? Their body has left, but their mind remains stuck in the same place, chained to memories that haven't been released. You might think, time heals all wounds. It doesn't. Time doesn't heal if you're still clinging to the invisible thread. Time only does one thing. It makes you numb to the pain. The wound stays quiet, embedded, silently preventing you from loving again, trusting again, living fully again. Some people lose years, whole decades, believing they've forgotten, only to collapse at the sound of an old song or the scent of a familiar perfume. Not because time wasn't long enough, but because they never truly left. They physically walked away, but spiritually remained at the threshold, caught in the limbo between leaving and looking back. The greatest danger of leaving without letting go is that you think you're healing, when in truth you're postponing your liberation. And when something new arrives, a new person, a new opportunity, you can't fully embrace it because part of you is still waiting for someone from the past to return. That's the most subtle kind of captivity. On the outside, you appear free. On the inside, you are still bound. When you haven't truly let go, everything new that enters your life, a relationship, a chance, a fresh start, is filtered through a lens tinted by the past. You enter a new relationship, but you hesitate, compare, and subconsciously test the new person against the pain the last one caused. You start a new job, but you're still haunted by old failures. You say you're okay. You tell people about a new plan, but half your heart is still waiting for a message that will never come. If you see yourself in these lines, don't be ashamed. Don't judge yourself. Jung once said, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. You can't move forward if you keep pretending you're fine." Be honest with yourself. Answer this one question and write it down if you must. Have you truly freed yourself? Your honest answer might be the light someone else needs to confront their truth. And once you have truly stepped away, no more looking back, no more entanglement with the past, a deeper challenge emerges. How do you let go without carrying guilt or resentment? Because if you walk away while still harboring unresolved anger or unhealed guilt, you're still tethered, just in a different form. Number 4, how to let go without guilt or resentment. Carl Jung once said, "What you deny submits you. What you accept transforms you. What we refuse to face will continue to rule us. Only when you dare to confront your real emotions, without judgment, without denial, can you begin to free them." And on the journey of letting go, nothing weighs heavier than two things, guilt and resentment. One makes you turn back to make things right. The other draws you back to get justice. But both keep you tied to what has already ended. Here are a few simple but powerful practices that can help you transform these emotions. If you feel ready, comment below, "I'm ready to change," and we'll begin this journey together. Exercise 1. Write a letter to yourself. First, to become your whole self, you must stop trying to be the good person defined by someone else's standards. Carl Jung said, "I am not what happens to me. I choose who I become." Choosing to walk away is not a moral failure. It is an act of integrity with your inner truth. No one is born to sacrifice themselves just to maintain another person's illusion. So here's a practice to begin healing guilt. Write a letter to yourself from the version of you that you once abandoned. Write down what you feel guilty for, what you wish had been different. Write to the version of you who stayed silent to keep others happy, who endured things out of fear of judgment. Say, "I'm sorry I didn't protect you sooner, but now I choose you. I no longer feel guilty for choosing myself." Exercise 2. Practice intentional solitude. Being alone isn't passive loneliness where you curl up with your phone, waiting for someone to distract you. This is purposeful stillness. It's the conscious act of muting the outside noise so you can hear the inner voice. Start by journaling your feelings daily. Each morning or before bed, write everything you feel: confusion, pain, anger, longing. Don't try to sound poetic or wise, just be honest. Writing helps you untangle the unconscious. It brings awareness into the emotional shadows. Next, practice sitting with your loneliness instead of avoiding it. Don't rush to fill the silence with movies, social media, food, or random texts. Just sit. Truly sit. Feel the emptiness expand from your chest, your belly, the invisible space around you. Don't try to numb it. Ask it, where did you come from? What do you need? In that silence, you'll begin to hear what you've been suppressing. Your inner voice, old memories, outdated beliefs, and wounds that haven't closed. These aren't enemies, they're maps guiding you back to yourself. Exercise 3. Focus on nurturing your inner life. Care for your body, knowing it is your sacred temple which stores every emotional wound. A healthy diet, good sleep, and daily movement won't just make you stronger, they reduce the unconscious stress that causes emotional volatility. When your body is clear, your emotions become clearer too. Engage your creativity, write, draw, make music, cook, and design. Anything that makes you feel like you're creating, living, and connecting to the world from your power. Creative expression is one of the most healing tools for a fractured self, because it reawakens your inner value, something only you can bring into the world. And perhaps most importantly, reconnect with yourself. Schedule time each day to do things that make you feel alive. Walk under the evening sun. Read a chapter of a book that helps you understand yourself better, and make tea and sip it slowly. These aren't trivial. They are bold declarations. I choose to stay with myself. I don't need to run anymore. Final exercise. Stop seeking external validation. To truly let go of resentment, you must cut the cord at every level. Physically, cut contact, remove reminders. Emotionally, allow yourself to feel the pain, but don't get stuck in it. Spiritually, when your mind replays the story, don't feed it. Don't reread old conversations. Don't analyze what's already beyond resolution. Don't play with fire. Don't test your control. Don't assume you can stay in touch and not get pulled back into the spiral. If you've left, be firm. Because if you don't shut the door completely, you'll always be one step away from walking back through it. And next time, the fall will hurt more. Energetically, every time they cross your mind, silently repeat, I release you. I free myself. When you carry this out at every level, the final string will snap. And in that moment, you'll feel peace. You'll feel for the first time in a long time that you've truly left. You can also try a small but powerful ritual. Write down everything you're still angry about, then burn it. Not to erase the memories, but to transform them. You can't change the past, but you can change the place it holds in your life. From an unhealed wound to a lesson you've already lived through. And you must learn to forgive yourself, because you deserve peace. Each morning, stand before the mirror, look at yourself without judgment and say, I forgive myself. I deserve to begin again. Repeat it 7 to 10 times. It may feel awkward at first, but every repetition cuts one more link in the invisible chain. Before bed, try meditating. It's a way to separate your mind from your pain, to reclaim your connection to yourself. If you've never meditated before, there are countless guides online, or you can simply sit in silence for 5 minutes each night. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, feel your body, and silently repeat, "I forgive myself." Jung emphasized, freedom stretches only as far as the consciousness reaches. Freedom only exists where awareness is present. If you don't recognize the subtle manipulation of guilt and resentment, they'll keep pulling you back, repeating patterns, keeping you trapped in the unconscious. But once you truly see them, without judgment, without running, you begin to reclaim your power. And one last thing you must remember: letting go is not a one-time act. It's a process. You may feel light and free in the morning and then collapse in tears by afternoon. That's okay. What matters is that you come back to your path, not to be strong out of stubborn pride, but to honor your promise to yourself. I deserve peace. Number 5, the meaning of letting go. When you truly free yourself, your life changes completely. You've arrived at the turning point. Reaching this place means you are someone with a strong, resilient mind. Pay close attention, because right here, something deep within you is about to shift. Letting go is not a loss. It is not failure. It is not surrender. It is an act of strength, an act that few master, because it requires courage, awareness, and above all, profound inner transformation. When you learn how to let go the right way, without guilt, without resentment, without justification, you realize you're not just leaving a person or a situation. You are moving closer to a new version of yourself. Carl Jung said that freedom is not achieved by avoiding suffering, but by learning how to live through it. And that is exactly what happens when you stop seeing letting go as losing and start recognizing it as liberation. When you release what no longer belongs to you, you begin to reclaim everything you lost of yourself. You regain control of your life. Without letting go, you live in dependence, emotional dependence, psychological dependence, and dependence on external validation. You feel like you need that person, that without that relationship, you are nothing, that if you let go, you'll be empty. But then, you begin to make decisions without fear. You begin to move forward without dragging the past. You begin to act from your true power, not from a need to be accepted by anyone. And that's what truly changes everything. Your energy regenerates. Your mind becomes clear. When you cling to a relationship or situation that has lost its meaning, your energy stagnates. You feel tired all the time. Your mind is foggy. You're anxious for no clear reason. That's because your energy is being drained by attachment. But when you finally let go, something shifts. Suddenly, you have more energy. You sleep better. Your body feels lighter. Your mind begins to see new possibilities. What once seemed impossible becomes clear. This isn't magic, it's science. Your brain stops operating in a state of constant stress. Your nervous system exits its fight or flight mode. Your body and mind can finally focus on you instead of being consumed by the obsession over what was lost. Your self-worth rises to a whole new level. Every time you stay where you shouldn't, every time you settle for less than you deserve, every time you justify the unjustifiable, your self-esteem is quietly eroded. Because deep down, you know you're betraying yourself. But when you choose to let go, when you decide not to accept less, something within you shifts. You prove to yourself that you are enough, that you don't need to beg for love, that your worth isn't dependent on anyone else's presence, that you deserve better and are willing to fight for it. In doing so, your self-respect grows. You become emotionally untouchable, not because you no longer feel, but because you now know you can survive any loss. You understand you don't need to cling to anyone to be okay. You trust that no matter what happens, you have yourself. When you reach that place, life changes. Relationships no longer control you. Situations no longer shake you. Losses no longer drown you, because you've learned to let go with dignity and without fear. Now you understand the power behind letting go the right way. But there is still one final thing you need to hear, a message that will seal everything you've learned and close this chapter for good. If you've made it this far, it's because something within you already knows you needed this message. This journey didn't begin by accident. You're here because deep inside, you know it's time to do something different, to release what has weighed you down, to stop giving chances to what has no future, to choose yourself over anything or anyone that costs you your peace. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." And today, after everything we've explored, you now have a choice. You can keep waiting for something outside of you to change, or you can wake up and make the decision you've delayed out of fear. Because in the end, no one is coming to save you. The only one who can walk you out of that place is you. Not just letting go of someone, but reclaiming your power. Refusing to stay where you're not valued. Stopping the excuses for what cannot be excused. Releasing what no longer serves you. Closing this chapter with absolute clarity that you will not look back. You deserve a life where you don't have to beg for love, for respect, for attention. You deserve peace, freedom, and a deep sense of being right with yourself. But to have that, you must make a real decision. No excuses, no delays, no waiting. So tell me, are you ready to let go completely? If you truly are, I want you to leave a sign in the comments. An ending is not a free fall into nothingness. It is the beginning of a deeper reality. A place where you no longer define yourself through someone else, resist your emotions, or cling to what has already grown hollow. By now, you've seen it clearly. What held you back was not love, but fear, not hope, but unresolved memory. And now, what you need is no longer an answer, but a commitment to yourself. A commitment that you will no longer live in between, in fragments. A commitment that you will not allow the past to resurrect itself in new forms. A commitment that even if your voice shakes, you will still walk forward. Because every step you take away from the old is a step back toward yourself. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that privilege begins the moment you let go, not out of anger, not out of despair, but because you've grown wise enough to know what no longer fits should be carried. So if you're standing at the threshold of an ending, ask yourself, what am I still delaying? And what is the cost of that delay? Thank you for walking this entire journey with me. If what I shared resonated with you, if it sparked something inside you that longs to grow and become better, Please subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications today, because who knows, the next video may arrive just when you need it most.